I need a drink now. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's too late, man. You can't even go to the bathroom now. You're mine for 30 minutes now. So,
Fantastic.
How are you guys keeping, Darragh? How are you keeping, brother? How's the quarantine life treating you, man?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I think for everyone it's up and down and stuff, but like genuinely, it's fine. You know, yeah, kind of just getting by. It's just a shame that we can't get in practicing and stuff as a band. That's probably the hardest part.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
Yeah. So yourself, Jim, have you?
I've learned how useless I am on my own.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, because you're
it's just vocals. Yeah, no talent whatsoever. I pride myself on being able to find talented people and then just hitching my wagon to them permanently.
You look like you're calling me from LA or something, Jim. Where are you, really?
Yeah, just pretty similar to LA. Sunny Glasnevin. I mean, I confuse them myself quite often.
I mean, it looks lovely in your room, man. You've got the colourful T-shirt, you've got the lovely backdrop, you've got some nice paintings there. The sun is beaming into the window. Yeah. And are we so blessed that, like, even during these ridiculously weird times, we have this beautiful weather. People are feeling generally positive, right? Everyone I'm speaking to is just like, yeah, I'm actually doing pretty fine. How are you guys doing, like, as a band? Because you've obviously just released 2 fantastic singles, by the way, and we're going to talk about them a little bit. Are you, like, really frustrated because you can't gig and promote these singles? How's that been for you? And I guess I'll ask you, Jim, first.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully we've all been fairly active over WhatsApp, just firing ideas in and things like that. I mean, there's less of an idea. Like, I think we're all kind of still having to vent and work creatively just to keep ourselves sane. I've recently taken on, and this has been a very slow battle, but I've only just started it, taken on the challenge of trying to catalog all recordings or ideas that we've sent into the WhatsApp group. So I downloaded about 200 sound, like, audio clips from just the lads being like, oh, I've got this idea for a riff. And hopefully I'll be able to turn that into a coherent library of ideas at some stage soon. So then at least we have a base, so we know what songs we have, what we're even working on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to even jump back to March. Like, I think what we were doing was we had our 2 singles that came out, one in February, one in April. And the idea was to go back into the studio with our mates in Displaced Studios to do some more recording again for another 2 singles. And then things change, things happen. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of nice to have a bit of, like, a breathing space, I guess, as well. It's kind of like jump back and be like, right, well, what are we going to do? What are the songs that we're going to pick for the next singles? Yeah, so you kind of just have to roll the punches a little bit, be like, right, cool, let's take a step back. Let's see what recordings we have. Let's see what we can kind of build on from there. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's the same. Everyone's the same in terms of, like, not having a gig or not having something to promote like that. But, like, we can only do what we can do.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone seems to be just kind of like, yeah, you got to take it day by day right now. And a lot of people have looked back on their archives. You know, you guys wouldn't be the first. I know I spoke to one of earlier on in the series of these shows. Robert O'Connor said he just unlocked all of his archives and actually re-released them all as well. So it was kind of a good time for him to kind of look back and sort of almost reflect on his creative self, but perhaps on ourselves as people too, right? Like, we're kind of looking at ourselves. And have you guys... Don't mean to put you on the spot here. Is there anything? But you know I like doing that, Darragh. You know me well enough.
Of course.
In front of all of these wonderful people. But is there anything you kind of discovered about yourselves, like, you know, that you were kind of surprised about? Because, you know, people have been learning a little bit about themselves, or are doing different things you wouldn't expect yourself to be doing, perhaps. Bold things, maybe.
I know, I guess for myself, like, I think you probably might have come across this with, like, anyone that's somewhat creative, is that you kind of feel this idea of, like, right, we have all the time in the world. You need to be doing something. You need to be creative. You need to be, like, yeah, getting something out there. And, like, that's probably the least creative thing you can have, is that pressure. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, I kind of feel like when I have the time and when I kind of feel like picking up a guitar or something, then do that. I've been doing a lot more, like, technical things. Like, I've forever been trying to learn how to use Ableton properly. So for people who don't know, it's like software for recording music, and, like, to just slowly tip away at that. That's probably the kind of closest thing in terms of, like, trying to
it's a great thing
learn
to
something.
do.
But Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure probably for yourself trying to learn all the new technical stuff for doing the live streaming and stuff, I'm sure there's plenty to be learning from that.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't touched Ableton since, because I use it for the GTA project, obviously, for live stuff, because it's handy for live and for recording. But I haven't touched it. I've moved away from my regular routine to do something irregular. And what about you, Jim? Have you sort of taken up surfing or?
Yeah, I've spread myself very thin in terms of my creative endeavors lately. I always end up, as soon as I have a chance to kind of procrastinate, I do. It's essentially, I get my best work done when I know for a fact I should be doing something else. But like, it's still a complete kind of, it's more like creativity as meditation. And it sounds like when I say that it's actually something I'm doing that is constructive, but it's really just, I mean, I've started trying to mess around with editing videos and putting together kind of almost sketch ideas and things like that. Not for anybody else. I'm not going to subject the world to my comedy in any way, but a bit of like photoshopping, drawing. I mean, like constantly coming up with lyrics and writing them down, and then when I come back to them, having no idea how the song was supposed to go in my head. But I'm putting together a lot of bits of ideas and not finishing them. But I feel like the fact that I've been able to actually work on anything in any way is so rewarding. I think when this all kind of kicked off, it was so easy to, so I'm working from home. My bed, as you can see, is directly behind me. I would be getting up in the morning and walking straight over to the PC in a dressing gown, sitting down, just starting the work day and working through, kind of almost in a think of, I thought of, I'm going to have a little bit more of a lie-in and then I'll be straight into work. And it just got to a point where I realized I was going mad, just spending all of having no kind of differentiator between my work life and my non-work life. So it was only kind of when I started to carve out time so I have to get outside the house before I start work. So I get up in the morning, go outside, go into the back garden, anything, just something to kind of replace what a commute would have been. And from there, it turned into, when work ends, and then I might try and work on something that is completely pointless, but a lot of fun to just work on anything creative at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That is my...
Yeah, because you're the first person to kind of mention that to me about, I suppose, breaking your routine up, right? Because you're totally right. Everything's kind of melded into each other because you're in the same location. So you're almost exactly living Groundhog Day, right? Yeah,
exactly. Like when you might not even it's dangerous to have the only time you leave your workspace in the day is just to go to the bathroom or to get like food, because I feel like my brain, if I wake up and in my natural state is to be in work mode, and which is that's a creative thing in itself in some instances. But it's still to be just fully in work brain as soon as you wake up. And I think I need to waste time for a little bit before I actually start spending it every day.
What kind of work do you do, Jim? What's your full-time job?
I work in IT, so
okay.
I'm a lot of kind of support and software development kind of stuff. So it's problem solving in a way, gives you an opportunity to do new things, and also work on things that I'm completely clueless about and be humbled constantly on a daily basis by the people who do know what they're talking about. But it becomes a brick wall once you have no kind of separator for your work life and your life.
Definitely, yeah. And Darragh, you work full time as well. Are you working from home as well? Are you?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, this is my office.
Your office, yeah.
But yeah, same thing. Kind of working like data analytics, and yeah, I kind of get that vibe. It's like that kind of feeling of like, you know, oh, you can get up and like, you know, 5 minutes and you're in the door and you're working and you're in your laptop. It kind of wrecks your brain a little bit. You need that kind of like, even I know like commuting can be a faff for a lot of people, but sometimes like even just that, like to get out and that's your exercise for the day of cycling to work, you know, that just breaks up your routine and your day. And when you don't have that, it's just that kind of change in how you sort your day out. Yeah, it does mess with you a little bit.
I will say one big benefit I found in it is, so if, say I'm in the office, I'm working away, if suddenly some idea for lyrics or a song strike you, you can't really just close what you're doing in an office and start writing down lyrics, or try and transcribe something just so you don't forget it for later. Like, but working from home, it is kind of a handy one to be able to go like, all right, here, it's kind of like the way, it takes me back to like studying for college exams and things like that. Like, it's that thought of, all right, just don't be wasting your time, but at the same time, don't work for 6 hours without taking a 5-minute break to look aside or something like that. Being able to take a few minutes aside and just scribble down an idea or kind of purge something out of your brain briefly so you can go back to work and actually kind of help both sides, but I find.
Yeah.
The only thing is actually trying to work those ideas into something once you come back to it later, if they're not completely alien to you.
Yeah, I guess everybody has their own creative process, right? And their creativity becomes active at random times, perhaps, right? Of the day, or when the brain is at its most perhaps automated mode, where it's not, you know, in the logic field or whatever, or however. I'm not a brain scientist, dude. I mean, and I think anybody that is probably doesn't understand it either, right? It seems very sort of, it's a very strange, very mysterious topic, right? The brain and how it functions, and on that level. So everybody has their own thing, but I guess it is handy, yeah, the fact that you can sort of just break away, pull back from your duties, and sort of and write down a jumble of stuff. But I guess perhaps that then reflects on yourself, on how you perhaps critique your own creativity, right? Or how you're able to jigsaw these pieces of words, or however you call them, that can possibly be alien to something. Because I've listened to your last two releases, Jim, and I think your lyrics are fantastically profound and deep, and poetic and lovely. And I never knew you as a singer or a writer prior to knowing you from San Rocco, because obviously we know each other from school, right? We know each other from high school, from secondary school, high school for the Americans. And I never knew you as a singer. So I guess my next question is, like, what got you into singing? Because I knew Darragh. Me and Darragh played in little projects before. We had our first live performance at Star Search, which was like 2006.
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Give It Away, you know,
yeah,
which was
my
just
best John Frusciante. What do you call it? Doesn't matter. Go on, continue.
Impression. I mean,
impression.
Like,
yeah, that's
dude,
what
I mean, yeah, I wish I could come close to Chad Smith like on that, but like now probably be a lot easier. But Jim, how did you come into singing? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I come from a big family of singers and musicians. I'd kind of be, I think, one of the kind of lower ranking kind of talent members of the family, considering I don't play an instrument. But I mean, like, music has kind of always been in my life. I think my dad used to kind of sing on a regular basis, play gigs all around town. And even before, I vividly remember when the law came in that kids couldn't be in pubs past a certain time. And I remember being a very young child who had no reason to be upset about not being in a pub, other than the fact that this meant he couldn't go to his dad's gigs anymore until he was a bit older. But I think through the years, just by osmosis, like, just became kind of hooked on it, having kind of big family sing-song kind of sessions at Christmas and things like that. Now, for years, I was definitely very shy about singing. And I'd say there are probably people in my life who would wish I was a little bit more shy about singing, just random outbursts of it. But
I get that as a drummer, you know. I think people wish I never chose the drums, right?
Yeah, but it's, I kind of had been lucky to grow up around people constantly singing and things like that, to the point where then throughout kind of secondary school and things like that, making friends who were equally as interested in this stuff. Like, I think I found that it's a lot easier to write lyrics and actually sing them once I kind of started doing it with people who enjoyed writing music and coming up with, like, we're collaborating really, because on my own, I'd have a decent handle on writing music alongside things, but I just used to love how my ideas would completely end up changing. Like, how I envisioned, say, The End Is Never the End originally was completely different to how that song turned out. But like, it just kind of manifested in ways that I just think, additions that the lads in the band were able to make that I could never have come up with myself, which is just part of why I love doing it.
Did you have the lyrics really before? Or did you guys jam it? Were you guys in? How did that come about? Actually, I'd be really, because that's my favorite. That's my favorite. I love that song.
The song originally started out with me just having an idea in my head of singing the end is never the end over and over again, and kind of slightly altering the way it's sung. And then from there, like, cause I almost have these really, really poorly pulled together ideas of arrangements in my head where I'm trying to almost kind of a cappella come up with how the bass might sound and things like that in my head. It inevitably sounds like completely different, but it helps to work together an idea. So like, I think a lot of the time our approach is less of me bringing a vocal melody to the table and then us working around that. Although that does happen. I think that was an interesting kind of experiment, because it was just me bringing this to the table, saying like, lads, what can you do with this? Singing it, and then gradually we all just kind of formed a better, kind of more rounded idea of the song. Like it in its original form, it is fairly one way and fairly tedious, but like that's one thing I love about playing with these lads is how quick kind of nuance gets introduced. And it's one of those things where you kind of worry that like ideas will clash, but more often than not, even when they do clash, it still ends up kind of creating something else. Like collaboration, like conflict can be just as healthy as like discord, I suppose, is important if you want to progress it out, but like harmony and discord go together in that way where like two people disagreeing on how a song should fundamentally go might lead to a compromise that makes it a million times better in the end. Like it's just one of those things like
definitely
I love about it.
Many bands would be kind of like that, and it's almost like a dysfunction. It can turn into almost like a dysfunctional family in many regards, but there is this underlying respect for each other that sort of keeps the band together more so than anything, no matter what comes up on the surface, because creation is can be a complicated process between people. And Darragh, what about yourself? Like, how are you finding, because you would be and I'm going to make a wild assumption here, you are the main instrumentalist and sort of because I know you from being like a musician for you quite seasoned musician. Would you be kind of the second person Jim would go to, or is it all kind of in a band environment? And plus, I guess, just your perception on creativity.
I think for the band that we're in now, it's pretty much all equal. Everyone kind of brings their own idea or own thoughts to it. Just kind of thinking of like the end is never the end. Like that was quite different as well, because I think a lot of the time it would be myself or someone else from the band, like any of the other instrumentalists will kind of come with a riff and that the usual kind of like jam it out, and then I think maybe Jim will kind of take something from that or kind of get to his notebook and kind of pick something out. Obviously Jim tell me otherwise if that doesn't happen.
No, I'm constantly terrified in when we're jamming that when I'm trying to like I'll just start writing lyrics on my phone or try to find old lyrics on my phone that might fit something as they're jamming, and in the back of my mind I'm always thinking like they're looking at me like I'm just texting somebody here, like I'm just completely so they're like, yeah, one thing, but no, it is one of those things where I think a lot of my ideas, even lyrically, come directly from what the lads come up with jam-wise. Like, I do try and take a lot of second do a lot of second drafts of lyrics, but inevitably we do. It's what kind of comes out first that sticks, surprisingly, which is kind of fun. Like, the amount of times where, like, we had a song that we haven't recorded yet, hopefully down the line at some stage, called After Dark, After Anything, Non-Stop Disco Party, Discotheque, DJ Mix, Volume 6. Volume 6 for short, though, but...
thank God you shortened
that
song, it's catchy.
That song came out
I'll give it some time to digest.
It came out of a jam where I think Ewan was playing the synth for a change, and he came up with just a fairly simple riff, which everybody else kind of joined in and started building on, and I just had that like fairly long title, After Dark, After Anything, Non-Stop Disco Party, Discotheque, DJ Mix, Volume 6.
It's amazing. I love it already. Actually, the second time it sounds so much better.
Basically, friends of mine were over on a trip in Thailand, and they came home with just a cassette. They bought a cassette that had that outrageous title on it, and they just kept repeating it because it was such a fun title to learn and repeatedly say. So that I've had it lodged in my head since that night. So it's only basically that song ended up just being almost entirely those lyrics repeated over and over this kind of cacophony of funk that powers it through.
It kind of reminds me of like Uplift Mofo Party Plan or something, you know, like an early Chili's title.
Yeah, has that kind of energy to it. Almost gibberish, but there's something there.
There is a nice mix in the tonalities and the songwriting, and this is all my perception of you guys only from seeing you guys live and listening to sort of your debut 2 singles, right, that you've released. There's kind of this mix of like there's a hint of Chili's and there's a bit of Doors. I mean, I'm hitting on those two definitely vibe wise. I hate doing this, and I'm sorry I'm doing this to you guys.
It's impossible not to, though.
It's hard not to, because it's all our brains relate to something like that. But it's such an interesting mix that I'm getting in my head about it that I can't really compare that to too many projects, especially right now in like the Dublin music scene. I think it's quite unique from the sound. I think I was drawn to your singles as well. When you released them, especially The End Is Never the End, I thought there was definitely something there that was just like, wow, something kind of new to me, you know, from listening to so many different bands. I love when that happens, because it does happen frequently enough, actually, because the scene is so vibrant. There's so many amazing musicians. Can you tell us the process of like recording? So you recorded that in Displace Studios, was it? Can you tell us a little bit about that and sort of how it came about?
Yeah, Displace were mates, I guess, that I guess we met through you and our guitar player, and they're based on the Richmond Road around there near Troubadour Rehearsal Studios, and I guess we kind of went in there for 2 days to record those 2 songs, and I think I already liked that song in particular because I think we had that refrain, "There's the end is never the end," and like for a couple of different reasons, I guess for Jim to come with an idea before the music came, so we had to kind of almost interpret what way we would use that, which I thought was really interesting, and a good challenge musically. So we had gotten to a certain point with that, and then myself and Ewan came up with the end refrain part where the song kind of feels like it's going to end, and then it kind of doesn't end, and it kind of almost reflects the whole "the end is never the end" idea, at least musically. And I think what was kind of quite nice for that song as well is to go in and not have everything ready. I think, at least from my own experience from recording before, I'd be very almost militant about like, right, cool, this has to be the part that's done, this is what's going on next, and this is have everything planned. But I kind of like the idea of we had gotten so far with it, and then we were like, actually, I don't know how we're going to record this exactly. Let's kind of just go in and have a bit of time to kind of play with it. And I don't know, Jim, did you kind of feel any other kind of feelings from the day? Or
I think one thing that actually helped with the writing of that song a lot was, and it's ironic, but because it's a bit of an annoyance, but in the lead up to Christmas, we kind of had trouble getting any rehearsals where we were all available at the same time. So there'd be a lot of times where we're playing without Sean, who's the bassist, or we're playing without James briefly, who's the drummer, or myself, or you, or Darragh might only be available later in the night. And it really highlight like the times playing that song, missing rhythm section parts, would just show how that song is just carried so much by like Sean's bass line and James's drumming, that it's kind of funny just seeing certain parts of the song in isolation, or seeing the absence of those parts. It really helped kind of build an idea of where the energy kind of was in the song. I think especially as well, recording it in Displace was fantastic because, I mean, maybe partly because we know the lads a little bit now, but I think as well they just have a really keen kind of ear for different bands, for like a multitude of sounds. So like, it's great having them to kind of almost back you up or second guess you if need be. If they reckon something could sound better, they were brilliant at kind of calling it out or suggesting it. It definitely, I think the support we've gotten from them over the years is just fantastic. It's really kind of become a part of the band, really.
Amazing. Well, I'd love to play "The End Is Never the End" for the guys. So I'm gonna give it, because we've been talking about it so much, and I want to hear it again. So let's play "The End Is Never the End," guys, by San Rocco, and I'm joined here by Darragh Lynch, their lead guitarist, and Jim McDonagh, lead vocalist. Awesome. So that is The End Is Never the End by San Rocco. And I'm joined by these wonderful gentlemen. We got Darragh Lynch, lead guitarist, and Jim McDonagh, lead vocalist. Guys, what a fantastic tune. Are we expecting more tunes after this quarantine? Are we you talked a little bit about it. Are we going to see more?
Yeah, the original plan was to kind of roll out 4 tracks over the course of 4 or 5 months, but the brakes have been pumped quite quickly on that. But yeah, definitely quite eager to get out there and start following. We have a couple songs that are borderline complete, but they're all competing for attention really at this stage in our heads. But I can safely say I cannot wait to get back into
I'm sure there'll be so many people that want to get back to live gigs as well. So I'd say it's going to feel so good no matter what gig you go to, whether us or anyone else. It's going to be, the vibes are going to be great.
I agree. Yeah, I think I'm so etching just to go see everyone, see as many live gigs as possible. And it's going to be great, I think, for artists as well, because people will appreciate music a little bit better, I think, after this. And hopefully that'll last, up forever, that people are like, oh, remember that time in 2020, 50 years from now, where we're like, oh, we've never missed a gig, or we've been to like 100 gigs in a year, whatever, since then. For 50 years, imagine that. But no, I really can't wait to see you guys live and to see so many other bands, man. It's just going to be beautiful. It might be next year, we don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's also amazing how people are still releasing music though at this time. It's still lovely. People are still artists are still doing that, and it's wonderful. Is there anything, guys? I'd love to chat to you a little bit more. I've got more guests, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but the fact that
we've got some great guests coming on.
We've got some great guests. Unfortunately, I'm short on time with you guys. But would you like to close off with anything with regard to San Rocco and anything with regard, promo stuff, anything like that, or anything coming up?
I suppose keep the ear out for future announcements. I suppose get on the usuals: Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Bebo, RIP,
Tinder.
Yeah, things. Yeah, actually, that is we have discussed setting up a San Rocco Tinder. I mean, it'd be purely platonic relationships, but why not cover all bases?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully things quite soon will allow for some big announcements.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And Darragh, would you like to close off with anything there and say hi to Mom or?
No, yeah, same. Also check out Display Studios as well. They have a fantastic array of guys that they've been recording, and again, that are itching to get back into the studio as well. And there's lots of mixing in the background as well. So if you like our recordings, if you like any of their recordings, check out them as well. They're itching to go as well. So we'll be back with them as well ASAP. So
awesome. That's great to hear. Displace Studios, yeah, guys, absolutely amazing. Wonderful people as well. I've spoken to. Is it Darren? Is it?
Yeah, Darren, Tom, Johnny. There's a few of them.
Yeah.
Great.
Great bunch, man.
Yeah, lovely guys. I met Darren in Chennai. Actually, I think it was at your gig. One of the ones at the Crystal Skull session you guys were playing. A wonderful gentleman. I spoke to him on the phone as well, and we were meant to work.
Wizard. Yeah,
we were meant to work together as well before, and then this quarantine happened. I was planning on doing some kind of promo stuff, in the studio, and then this happened, so everything's kind of stopped a little bit. But here, it is what it is, guys. Listen, Darragh and Jim, absolute pleasure, guys. Enjoy that sunshine. Get out there. Grab a surfing board. Chat to you soon, brothers. Take it easy. Great to see you. Bye.
Yeah. Cheers.
See you, Jim. Take it easy, brother.